pictures and seeing the live stream had been all that kept him sane while he was serving overseas. He'd spent every night in rehab watching his baby sleep. It went a long way to stitching up his bleeding heart. Shelby never called to talk to him about anything except Eliza, but since he got out of rehab and ended up right back in, she'd left him several messages he hadn't listened to, because if her reaction to him ODing again matched his brother's responses, he was in deep shit. He didn't want to hear her tell him not to come back this time. "Mr. Wilde," a nurse called from the door. "I see you're all packed up and ready to go." He wished he knew exactly where he was going. "There's someone in the lobby to see you." Definitely wasn't his brother's. His dad wanted nothing to do with him either. It had to be his buddy Drake. Chase wondered if Adria, Drake's girlfriend and Juliana's sister, was holding it together after losing her twin. Maybe she came too. He wanted to talk to her and tell her how sorry he was for not being able to save Juliana. He'd tried, but failed miserably. "I'm headed out now," he told the nurse. "Good luck, and remember, take it one day at a time." She smiled and left. He rubbed his hand over his aching chest, swallowed down the guilt, stuffed his feet in his boots, laced them, stood, grabbed his duffel bag, and headed out the door. He'd already had his last session with his psychiatrist and picked up his meds at the pharmacy. All he had left to do was figure out where he was going and how he would get there. Back to Wyoming to see his kid first, then he didn't know. He walked down the hall, out the door, and into the lobby, expecting to see Drake, but he stopped in his tracks and stared at the woman who stood staring right back at him. Her gaze swept over him from his head to his boots and back up, leaving a warm caress all over him. "Chase." His name on her lips would always be the sweetest sound. Shelby. Just looking at her made him ache. He wanted to be what she wanted, but hell if he knew what that was, because they were still practically strangers. Strangers who had seen each other naked and left not 1 centimeter of skin untouched. He didn't know Shelby before the night they got stupid drunk and had a one-night stand. He didn't take the time to get to know her afterward either, because he'd only been home on leave for 10 days and spent most of that in a bar, regretting spending those few days in his hometown where his family didn't want him. He met her his last night home. She made those 10 miserable days worth it. She didn't know what that night meant to him, how he relived it over and over in his mind, and that sometimes it was the only thing that kept him sane. She didn't know how much he appreciated her letting him into her life through Eliza, how that webcam and the pictures she sent while he was overseas, and now, meant everything to him. When he returned the last time, wounded in body and mind, she'd let him visit Eliza. They'd played in the backyard or at the park in town, but then she started shutting the door in his face when he showed up stoned out of his mind. He'd made an ass out of himself too many times to count, and Hunt showed up in his patrol car and dragged Chase back to the apartment that was dinky in size but felt like a huge, empty black hole. She'd known which days to send him on his way, and which days, wasted and desperate, he needed Eliza or he wasn't going to make it through the night. Her actions spoke volumes. She got him. She never raged at him even when he'd given her good reason. She never judged him. In her quiet way, she showed him patience and understanding and compassion without pity. She kept Eliza safe and made her happy and loved her when Chase wasn't there and couldn't do those things for her too. No, he didn't know Shelby well, but God, he loved her. Still, he couldn't believe his eyes. "What are you doing here?" He glanced around the empty room. "Where's Eliza?" "Back home with the sitter. I took the bus up last night, stayed in a motel, and came here to drive home with you." That blew him back a step. "Why?" She tilted her head, her soft green eyes filled with sympathy. "Because after all you've been through, I thought you might like the company." He loved the company, but she didn't know that. A month into counseling, he realized that somewhere between their one-night stand, them having a baby together, her holding down the fort, and parenting duties the whole time he was overseas serving his country,